Welcome back to the Becoming MindStrong podcast. If you have listened to any of my past content, you hear me say so often, probably annoyingly so, how much I hate the nutrition industry. I almost didn't start MindStrong, and to this day, I hate being associated with an industry full of snake oil salesmen, right? Promising the world if they actually delivered, we wouldn't actually be here. And back in the day, as I said, I almost didn't start this company, but ultimately decided the world does not need Rachel's point system, Rachel's diet system. What it absolutely needs is an educator cutting through the noise saying, look, someone can teach you the skill of riding a bike or the skill of skiing. I can teach you the skill of nutrition, and that's how we came to be. So today we're going to have a little bit of fun with this industry that I hate, and we're going to talk about the 5 biggest red flags in the nutrition industry. Check it out. All right, the 5 biggest red flags in the nutrition industry. If you see any of these as you're scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever, run, don't walk. And you know your girl hates cardio, so that's how strongly I mean it. Run, do not walk, because this is essentially slapping a sticker on themselves saying, I am BSing you. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've just knocked my own credibility out the window. Red flag number 1 is rapid weight loss. Any company that's out there saying, lose 50 pounds in a month, the answer is, don't do that. That is so wildly unhealthy. Our body is not designed for rapid weight loss. If we think about this from a survival standpoint, biologically, it is not safe for our body to lose weight, period. It is not safe from a survival standpoint to lose weight ever, especially at a rapid rate, right? This is why when people do go on GLP-1s and all the other stuff out there, loose skin is a real thing, and there's nothing to do for that besides surgery, because our body cannot keep up with that rate of weight loss. And on the other side of it, 99.9% of the time, they're going to gain it back, because to get that level of rapid weight loss, you have to take extreme measures that are not going to be sustainable. So sure, you might lose 20 pounds really fast, but on the other side of it, you're going to gain back 40. What was the point? When we can buckle our patience belt and understand the way the human body is designed is that if we are going to lose weight, it needs to be slow and steady. That's how we set ourselves up for long-term success. The caveat I'll add to this is, if you're in menopause, you're already eating low calorie. Besides the GLP-1, there aren't really extreme measures to take. Cutting down, if you're eating 1,000 calories, not losing weight, cutting to 500, the scale is going to go up, not down. But for the purposes of the topic here, red flag number 1, when you see any kind of extreme weight loss, rapid weight loss, run, don't walk. It is not how the human body is designed. It's going to do more harm than good long term. Red flag number 2, you're going to lose X amount of weight in Y amount of time. They may as well have a glaring neon light over their head that says, I am pulling this out of my rear end and making this up. This is pure marketing. Don't listen to me. Wouldn't that be quite a sight to see? There is zero way for someone to predict how much weight you're going to lose in X amount of time. The analogy I love to use for this is if you've ever seen like the cheesy self-help posters, right? And they show the iceberg, and above the water is the tip of the iceberg, and it says, this is what people see, and that's success. And under the iceberg is everything they don't see, like hard work, dedication. This is our metabolism. What you see on top, weight loss, that is the tip of the iceberg. What we cannot measure, and maybe one day science will be able to, is how much has gone on under the surface. How long have you been low calorie? How much yo-yo dieting has there been? Have you been low carb for a long time? Were you on keto? All of those things impact how your body's going to respond. There is physically no way for me to say you're going to lose 5 pounds this month. You're going to lose 25 pounds this month. I am pulling that out of my rear end because as of right now, there is no way to measure all of those factors under the surface. So any company that says you will lose X amount of weight in Y amount of time, my question to them is, how do you know that? Tell me the science behind those numbers, and you will find them stuttering with no answer because it is physically impossible to predict. Red flag number 3. So we've got rapid extreme weight loss and we've got X amount of weight in Y amount of time. Number 3 is too low of calories. This is one of the most common ones. And it's a tough pill to swallow because for most of us in our 20s, 30s, maybe even our early 40s, these 1,200 calorie diets, they were it. That's what we did, right? We cut out carbs, we intermittent fasted, we just dropped calories and stayed there as long as we needed until the problem was solved. What you probably already know, or you might not be here listening to this, is that at this stage in life, if we're eating 1,200 calories a day and not losing weight, it's not just that you're not losing, it's that the scale is moving in the opposite direction. And unless you're working with a coach who understands metabolisms and who understands specifically metabolisms in menopause, we are running a very real risk that they don't know how a menopausal body works. I'll zoom out and tell you a quick real story. I launched this, as of the time I'm recording this past year. I launched, actually it's January, so I guess this would be last year. I launched a second business called Her Fit Biz, where we train online female coaches to build and grow and scale online companies, to condense time the way that I did with MindStrong. And a lot of these coaches, they're working with 20 and 30-year-olds. And every once in a while, they'll have a 40, 50, 60-year-old come in and they'll say to me like, Rachel, I cannot get her results. I keep cutting her calories. I can't get her results. And my answer to them is you either need to go learn about menopause if you're going to coach those women, or you need to keep your demographic to 20 to 30. But you are doing them a disservice if you're trying to use the same methods with 20 and 30-year-olds with people heading into the menopausal stage of life. It is not the same path. And a lot of coaches don't know that. Right? If the medical industry doesn't know it, sure as heck a lot of coaches don't know it. So if you find a coach and they're trying to put you on these 1,200, even 1,400 calorie diets, again, run, don't walk. If you're already eating low calorie and not losing weight, continuing to cut calories is making the problem worse. Numero 4, one and done macros. We work with two types of women. Woman number one is, what are macros? How do I do this? We're like, great. We're an education-based company. I got you. Let me show you how they work. Woman group number two, that's a weird way to say that, is I've done macros in the past and they didn't work for me. I have a whole podcast earlier on that's literally called I Tried Macros, They Didn't Work. The reason they didn't work, said with love, is they were done wrong. And what done wrong means for a lot of coaches is that they were one and done. They took your age, your height, your weight, your activity level. They pumped it into a generic formula or an online macro calculator. They said, eat this much food. Maybe you got lucky and it worked for a little bit. Maybe it never worked, but maybe it worked for a little bit and then it stopped. And the answer is, that's not how macros actually work. They need to be tweaked. They need to be adjusted. Those numbers, those formulas, they are goal numbers. They're not starting numbers. We need to meet our body where it is and slowly walk it to where it needs to be. One of the biggest mistakes I see, and when people say I've tried macros, they didn't work, my first question is, how often did your coach adjust your macros? And if the answer is, what? They didn't. They just gave me macros. There's your answer. Macros are not meant to be one and done. They have to be personalized. They have to be tweaked and adjusted as you go. Real quickly, the biggest event in MindStrong history is coming up, and you are hearing about it first. From March 3rd through 5th, 2026, I am hosting my Runway to Summer Metabolism Boosting Challenge. It is totally free, and it is going to be the biggest event that we have ever done in the history of MindStrong. You can go to www.mindstrongfitness.com/challenge, or just use the link in the show notes below to reserve your spot. I cannot wait. I will see you there. Now, let's get back to the episode. And number 5, we've got rapid extreme weight loss. We've got X amount of weight and Y amount of time. We've got calories too low, and now we've got one and done macros. The number 5 biggest red flag in the nutrition industry is if you don't understand how or why it works, I guarantee you it is not going to work long term. The number of women that come to us after doing, you name it, name the point system out there, name the frozen meal or packaged meal system out there, and the story is the same every time. It worked when I was on it. Actually, not exactly. There's one of two paths. Either it worked when I was on it and then it stopped working, or it worked when I was on it, but I went off of it and I don't know what to do. I talk about this a lot in earlier podcast episodes. I think of it as the Wizard of Oz curtain, right? It's the big almighty Oz, and they pull back the curtain. They're like, that's it. That's nutrition. What every one of these packaged meal companies are doing, they're doing macros, except instead of being personalized to you and instead of understanding how this works eating real food, they've slapped their own label on it so you don't understand it. Back in the day, there was a game show called Whose Line Is It Anyway? And their slogan was, the points are made up and nothing is real. And those are point systems. They literally just said, instead of calling this food 100 calories, we're going to call it 3 points. Why? Because they made it up. They literally made it up on their own. And it is genius marketing. because if you don't know how it works, you're reliant on them forever. And that's great for them financially. It is not great for you because now you have to stay on that program for the rest of your life. When you hit menopause, you run the risk of it's not working anymore because it's not personalized to you. We need to pull back the curtain and understand nutrition is a skill. We don't need to massively overhaul your shopping list. We need to understand how to tweak and adjust the food you're eating to fit your personal body. We don't need these BS point systems packaged meals. If you don't understand how it works, it is not going to be sustainable long term. So those are my 5 red flags. I could keep going. I could do 500 red flags because this industry is just, it's heartbreaking. It is a heartbreaking industry. I'll resist going down a rabbit hole there, but it's tough. It's actually funny now because we are an education-based company, what tends to happen is as our women go through our program and they learn the skill of nutrition, the messages we get probably the most often from alumni is, holy cow, I got this targeted ad and would you believe X, Y, and Z? Or I heard this ad on the radio in my car and I can't believe they're selling A, B, and C. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? Once you know how it works, it's like, oh my gosh, you are spewing these lies to people, wrapping it in a pretty pink bow, and people are shoveling their money at you. But I can see through the bow. I know what's underneath, and I know what a scam this is. So today's episode was to give you a little dip your toe in the water of the 5 biggest red flags. There's obviously more than that. My goal is for you to be informed. My goal is for you to be educated, whether that's through us and Ignite or somebody else. What's important to me is that you understand this is a masterable skill and this is biology, but it's individualized to every human. And in a menopausal body, there are certain capital T truths that we have to be addressing a certain way if we want to hit our goals. I am hosting the largest event we have ever done in MindStrong history, and you don't want to miss it. From March 3rd through 5th, 2026, join me live on Zoom, totally free, for MindStrong's Runway to Summer, my 3-day Metabolism Boosting Challenge. To join and for more details, go to www.mindstrongfitness.com/challenge or just use the link in the show notes below.